Welcome to the Kendra Woods Show. I'm Kendra Woods, and this is a space for high achieving women navigating success, self doubt, and the pressure that often lives beneath it. On this show, we explore the hidden patterns that shape how you lead your life, make decisions, and relate to success. Because success isn't just what you build, it's how you lead yourself. And here we learn to lead ourselves well. Hello, and welcome back to the Kendra Woods Show. All right, so let's talk about something I see all of the time, especially in high achieving women. You tell yourself, you know what? I'm overthinking this. I just need to stop overthinking. Why can't I just make a decision and move? And underneath that, there's frustration, there's pressure, there's this subtle belief that something is wrong with you. But what if I told you that overthinking is not your problem? You see, overthinking is not a mindset issue. It's not because you're too much in your head. It's not because you lack discipline. It's not because you don't know enough. Overthinking at its core is a nervous system response. It's the thing that happens when your body does not feel safe to move. So instead of moving, you loop, you analyze, you rehearse, you second guess, you look for certainty that never comes. And this is not because you're broken or because something's wrong with you, but because your system is actually trying to protect you. So let's go a little bit deeper with this. So, when your nervous system is dysregulated, meaning you're in a state of pressure, stress, subtle overwhelm, that fight or flight response, your brain goes into problem solving mode. But it's not clean problem solving, it's survival based. So now every decision feels loaded. So it sounds like, what if this doesn't work? What if I choose wrong? What if this means something about me? And then all of a sudden, a simple action becomes emotional. A post, an offer, a conversation, all of it feels heavier than it actually is. So then what do you do in that moment? You hesitate, you delay, you spin. And not because you don't know what to do, but because your body doesn't feel safe doing it. And you've probably heard yourself say to a mentor or a coach, or maybe to a close friend of yours, you've probably said something like, I know what I need to do. I just can't seem to do it. If you've ever said that, this is the pattern that you were in. And so this here really hits differently for high achieving women, this conversation, because you're intelligent, you're capable, and you can think your way through almost anything. And so over time, you have learned to rely on your mind. But what used to be your strength has quietly become a trap because now, instead of leading yourself forward, you're trying to think your way into safety. And that will never work. And this is why so many people default to mindset work. And let me be clear, I am a huge fan and proponent of mindset work. It absolutely has its place. But for a high achieving woman like yourself, you've learned to rely on your mind. You've learned that, oh, okay, I can just think my way through this. But that only takes you so far. And you may be noticing that now. And you're recognizing that you can't think yourself into your next level, into your expansion. And so you can do all the mindset work in the world, but if you're not tending to and supporting your body, to hold this expansion, to hold this next level, then you keep hitting a wall. So then the question becomes, if overthinking isn't the problem, then what's the solution? And let me clear this up. You don't need more information. You don't need a better strategy. You don't need to figure it out. What you actually need is regulation. You need to feel safe in your body, moving without certainty. So you need to get to a place to where your body feels safe enough to where you can move even when things are unknown, even when there's uncertainty. We've got to get your body to that place to where it still feels safe to move in that moment. You need to feel grounded enough to act without over processing every outcome. You need to be able to trust yourself before the results confirm it. And that is a big piece right there. I'm going to say that again. You need to trust yourself before the result confirms it. What many of us have learned, we have learned to trust ourselves when we see the result. And that backfires on you because we can't control the external. We can only control ourselves, but we've been conditioned to believe that we can control the external. And so then we've learned to wait for a result before we allow ourselves to trust ourselves, which again puts our body back into that state of stress and pressure and fight or flight. So the woman who leads herself powerfully she's not the woman who has zero thoughts. Okay. She's the woman who is not ruled by them. You're going to have thoughts. Your mind is going to produce thoughts, but your next level of expansion into your next level of leadership is going to require you to recognize that, okay, I might have these thoughts, but I do not allow these thoughts to rule me. I am moving from a place of who I know I am. You're moving from identity. You're not moving from emotion anymore. You're not ruled by the thoughts that are coming up. So, this is where my calm authority method comes in because calm authority doesn't rush, it doesn't spiral, it doesn't collapse under pressure. It moves from a regulated, anchored place, even when the outcome is unknown, even when the result isn't guaranteed, even when the mind wants to spin 1,000 stories. Calm authority says, okay, I can feel this, I can recognize this, and still move. I had a moment this morning when I woke up. And at the time of me recording this, it's a Friday. And I let myself sleep in this morning. And so I woke up a little later than I normally would, which was fine. And I got up and I noticed my mind wanted to go into the spiral of, oh, it's later than what it normally would be when I wake up. And I knew that I wanted to go to the gym this morning. And my brain was like, oh, but you're getting a late start to your day. Maybe you should just skip the workout. Maybe you should just like get started on the things that you want to get done today. No, maybe you don't need to go meditate or journal. Like the day has already started late. And so then I found myself going into the spiral, right? I found myself feeling a bit judgmental towards myself, being hard on myself because I let myself sleep in. But in that moment, I snapped out of it. I recognized the thoughts and I said, you know what? No, that's not who I am. I am a woman who moves her body every day. I am a woman who is devoted to her journey. And just because I allowed myself to sleep in a bit this morning doesn't mean that now everything else that I know that I'm devoted to just gets thrown to the side. right? And so in that moment, I chose to still move. I chose to still lead myself. I got up, I did my daily reading, I did my journaling, I did my meditation, and then I got myself ready for the gym. I made my bed, I made my smoothie, and I went to the gym and I did the workout that I wanted to do. And then I came back and did the rest of, started doing the work that I needed to do for the day. All the while, there was that little part of me that was kind of like, oh, you're so behind, you're behind. And I noticed it, but I didn't let myself lead from that. I continued to show up as the woman that I know that I desire to be, a woman who follows through, a woman who is devoted to her journey, a woman who says she's going to do something and then does it, right? That is calm authority. It doesn't mean that you're going to have like this constant like inner peace and everything's going to be fine. No, it is being the kind of woman that can still move yourself and lead yourself, even when there is a little bit of chaos, even when there are some stories that are looping. You know what to do, you still know how to lead. So I want to invite you into something right now. I want you to pause for a moment and just ask yourself, where in my life am I calling it overthinking when it's actually me not feeling safe to move? And if I stopped trying to fix my thoughts and instead supported my body, what would change? What decisions would become simpler? What action would feel available? What pressure would soften? Just sit with that and let that land for a moment. And maybe you take some time after this and you get your journal out and you explore these questions and see what comes up. You are not the woman who needs to think less. You are the woman who is learning how to lead herself, even when her mind is loud, even when things feel uncertain, even when the next step isn't fully clear. Because your power was never in controlling every thought. It's always been in your ability to stay with yourself and move anyway. Now, if this episode resonated with you, take a breath and just let it land. And I want you to remember, you don't build self trust by thinking more. You build it by leading yourself through the moment you want to hesitate. All right, until next time, lead yourself well.